Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, we are now being joined by Mr. Ricardo Phillips, and he is the T.H.A. administrator, and he is the political leader of the Class Action Reform Movement. As we are speaking about the last 2 years of the T.H.A. administration led by Chief Secretary Fali Augustine. So a special good morning and welcome to you,
Good
Mr.
morning,
Phillip.
good
How are you
morning,
doing?
good morning. Were you attempting to give me a little T.H.A. position? No, that's super good.
Sorry, just got my words mixed up just for a second. It happens. It happens.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Trinidad, and the rest of the world. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me this morning.
All right. So this morning, of course, we are speaking about the last 2 years of the T.H.A. administration. And let me start with, if you were to rate it out of 10, with 10 being the best and 1 being the worst, how would you rate it?
With all fairness to the Fali administration, I think it's unfair to talk about rating the performance of the T.H.A. at this point in time. And I've heard all the pundits come out with the analysis and analyses and so on in terms of how they perform, and some people say they might A and a B and a C and all that kind of scenarios. I think it's important to understand that your ability to rate any government performance has to do with their vision and the path that they chose. And for me, it's not about rating, but it's about assessing whether or not the pathway that they have chosen will actually work for the people of Tobago and for the development of Tobago. And that philosophy of thinking is extended to Trinidad. We have seen over the years that the philosophy and the pathway have not worked. And the only acclaim that the T.H.A. can take at this point in time is maintaining the status quo. I don't think there's any change will happen, and I've said this before, I've said this during the election campaign, that there's absolutely nothing can change with that kind of political philosophy and political pathway. Because when you go on a political platform and you make promises, just to entice people to actually get your vote, it's unreasonable to expect that you're going to have any significant changes. However, I would think that the first 2 years, and with any government, and this is reasonable to expect with any government, that the first 2 years would have been your establishment and the sort of solidifying your policies and the direction in which you want the island to go. And I think they're struggling with vision, because you now have the job to do, and you realize that the immensity of the problem and the challenges that you're faced with. And I don't think that you have the wherewithal, not the wherewithal, but the insight, understanding the assignment, so to speak, in terms of how we should move.
Let's take a pin right there. So you're saying that they don't quite understand, what policies and that sort of thing. They're not establishing themselves
understand
properly.
how to deal with the challenges that they face.
Right.
They understand their policies and so on. As I said, you are maintaining the status quo. You are doing exactly the same thing that the PNM has done, which was 21 years of painful, slow and painful growth. This administration would experience the same. If you leave them there for 21 years, exactly the same thing would happen. And so you could have all the good intention. And I want to make this clear. This is not about opposition politics or anti-Fali. I'm not anti-Fali. Because if the Fali administration succeed, it means that I will succeed. I'm a businessman in Tobago. I have people employed. I have a family here. So if Fali succeeds, I will succeed. And I have love. That is more important to me than anything else. So I'm not just playing simple or petty anti-opposition politics. I'm simply saying that it's impossible for this administration to make any significant change in terms of economics for the people on the island because of the pathway that we've chosen in the past, in terms of the political philosophy and the way they go about doing things. It's just not possible. And I feel sad saying this, though.
And then what would you like to see instead, in terms of, let's just take the economy for instance, because that's been one of the negative views about this past administration, that they didn't handle the economy to the best of their ability. That people are saying that better could have been done. We saw a slowing down of the economy in some ways because we didn't have much construction going on, and construction is the driver of any economy, well, at least one of the drivers of any economy. So what would you have liked to see different?
God, it's the first thing that happens to you and to me and anybody else. If we out of pocket, the first thing we start thinking about, what I need to do to make more money. That's the first thing you start doing. What do I need to do to make more money? I said in my campaign that you have to develop new industries in Tobago. There's processing. There's amazing potential in terms of the human resource in Tobago that we haven't even begun to tap into. It's a shame. There's tremendous all over the world, even in Trinidad. People are developing the people capital. Tobago, we have not even tapped into that. There's so many industries, new industries, technology, processing, manufacturing, and so on, that we have not tapped into. You know, I keep saying this over and over, and that is how you deal with the economic challenges in Tobago, because one of the major complaints you would obviously have, and I think Tobago, the people of Tobago now has pursue economic development more than anything else, education and economic development, which is fair, because that's what's happening around the world. And Tobago should not be left out of that new trust in terms of the modernization of the world and people and so on. Economic will get you to deal with all the issues of autonomy and all the other issues. When I can feed myself and feed my family and pursue the thing. You have to match the ambition, firstly, of the young people on the island. And if you can't do that, then I don't care what you do, how much road you patch and how much thing you have, nobody takes that to heart, because my fundamental issue, most important issue, is not being addressed in any sense of the way. I don't feel the sense that even though if I am challenged now, that I can be excited about tomorrow, because you put some things in place and there's some new industries opening up and there's some new manufacturing happening and some new agriculture stuff happening and all that stuff happening while so I can see, hey, we look like we have a very promising future. So I think in terms of economics, this is where we ought to go.
Okay, well, let's break this down a little bit more. Let's start with agriculture, for instance. So if we speak to, I mean, we had conversations with all the secretaries, all the assemblymen over the last few weeks. And one of the things, of course, that came out was, you know, they boasted about the success of T.H.A in terms of agriculture. We see the Capital Paradise going out there, bringing in some revenue and so on. I mean, do you think that any of that is enough? Are they going in the correct direction where those things are concerned in terms of building our agriculture industry here in Tobago, being able to feed ourselves, being able to provide food security for Tobago?
One of the problems we face with government in the past is that they always boast about government institutions, and I think success really is about how well government institution performs in terms of how it sees itself, and the measurement of success is based on the confinement of that institution. So if the institution makes $1 million or $2 million or $20 million, oh, we are successful. But I'm talking about human development. Your human capital is what you ought to develop. For example, let's ask a simple question. I've said this on one of your programs before. How much pounds of chicken does Tobago consume on an annual basis? How much tons, how much pounds, what have you? And then you look at that and you realize here's an opportunity for poultry farmers. And then that's what you want to direct so you don't have to, TACO don't have to come into play in terms of developing that, but you people who are interested, or people who are already in the business, that you're going to. So now what's going to happen is this: that some of these farmers, poultry farmers, are going to be employing people to feed, to cut up, to what have you. So you understand the rippling effect you're going to have when you take that kind of approach, not the institutional approach. Yes, you have everybody vying to. I remember when I was campaigning some years ago, I went to one of the major supermarkets in Tobago, and I asked, and the manager was telling me about somebody supplying lettuce and so on, and talking about 1 week he's there, next week you can't see him, the other week, that kind of challenge. Those are some of the technical issues that we face in Tobago that you have to address at the same time.
But I mean, and just to butt in there a little bit, we saw, at least we saw something similar to what you're speaking about, like understanding how much chickens. I think the figure was 250,000. I'm not sure if it was, I think it was a month or a year. I can't remember. But
right.
I remember the 250,000, right, of chickens, and we're seeing that poultry initiative that was developed to kind of fill that need. Is this what you want?
Well, we want yes, that type of politics, but it has to be not politics, but that type of management or strategy or policies, as the case may be. But you got to not just there's so many opportunities that is widespread that we can capitalize on, and I think that it must not be confined to just politics, but to the people development of the island. And the real challenge for us is how do we transcend the petty politics and the politics and trying to outdo. And when you talk about 2 years, what do you measure that against? What you coming to tell me? How do you measure that? What do you measure that against? Is that are you measuring that against the PNM performance? What do you say?
What about tourism? Let's go into the conversation about tourism now. We saw over the past couple of years, well, of course, they started during COVID when we were not getting any flights or anything like that because of the COVID situation. But that eventually got lifted, the borders opened up, got a couple airlines back in. definitely not as it was before, but we saw an increase, or we're going to be seeing an increase of cruise ship visitors to Tobago, over 70 and so on. There was a lot of consultations that took place with the players in the industry over the last couple of years. Are these things enough to take the economy forward?
Well, the question we should be asking is whether or not the tourism policy that we employ is sustainable. Because, around Christmas time, Tobago always get a couple of cruise ships in, and if you're using that as a measurement for tourism, or a measurement for any kind of success in terms of tourism or taking the economy forward, then you're seriously mistaken. So whatever activity you're engaging, the T.H.A. or the administration, the tourism sector has to ensure that it's sustainable, whatever that may be. And we can go on into a host of different ideas and concepts that we can employ. But whatever you're doing has to be sustainable. As I said, if you succeed, I succeed.
What is your view on what is sustainable?
Well, you have so many sectors. For example, we have not, tourism now is a very competitive business all around the world. And if you confine yourself to what you were able to sell 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, then you have some challenges. So you have to develop now, what do I have? And you look around to see what you have that you can develop to make it interesting for some foreigner, interesting for other people. And then you have the local tourism sector, Trinidad, then you have the regional tourism sector you have to cater for, you have to specify. I am really saddened by the fact that when we talk about tourism, we just keep thinking about overseas, Europe and America and so on, and we haven't catered for the local people, the inter-islands, that kind of tourism. And we need to do some work in these regards and capitalize, because as it stands now, and for during COVID and the past couple of years, it's the local tourism that really keep the Tobago tourism sector going. The guest houses will tell you that, the hotels will tell you that, the local tourism sector. But what have you done in terms of boosting that and ensuring that, listen, this is safe, this is good, we're going to create some activities here now for you to come and enjoy. The carnival was a good adjuster in one of those instances, something similar to that. But we need to see more activities, because this is what a lot of people in Tobago survive and build their business and their feet on, this idea of economic activity on the island. You have to engage in those activities, make the island interesting. As I said before, Tobago is one of the most beautiful islands in the world in terms of its potential. What exists now in terms of its potential, we have not developed. We haven't even started touching the potential of Tobago in terms of how it's developed. I'm not one of those who just complain about things. I'm talking about solutions. You have to engage the people. You have to transcend the political barriers and so on, and engage people with ideas and take those ideas and put them together and help develop the island for all of us.
Now, Chief Secretary Fali Augustine started branding Tobago as the greatest little island on the planet. Do you think, what is your evaluation on that tagline, that motto for going forward with his time in governance?
Well, that is true. Tobago is one of the greatest little islands in the world. It's true, but what is the basis for saying that? Is that you're going to just try to mamagaya us, or you're going to just say things and when people come to discover and realize, what are you talking about? When you talk that, you have to. There have to be something that backs it up. And if you just saying this for whatever, then it will backfire on you. And I think that you have to make sure that when you make those pronouncements, that there are fundamental things are at least in the interest of the people of Tobago who can defend that. Because if you ask me, I must be able to say yes, absolutely, because we have good roads and we have water supply and we have good electricity and we have this and we go on a list, and that's where my sense of pride comes in. But if you say these things for political grandstanding, then it will backfire on you at some point in time.
Do you think that it is enough, that statement in and of itself is resonating with the people of Tobago to help them now be motivated to do their part in making Tobago the greatest island on the planet?
I think one of the first challenge of the T.H.A, and what I would have done, is try to unite the island in terms of the vision. You can't control people's political philosophy and beliefs and so on, but you would try to appeal to the sense of pride and the sense of belonging to whether you are PNM or PDP or what have you. And I think that the failure in their part is to bring the island together, and whatever your policies and whatever projects that you engage in is really for the development of the people of Tobago, and you have to transcend that early in the game. I think if you want people to stand with you and follow you, you must do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, as you mentioned, the politics of the situation, and we saw an unprecedented change in the politics during the short time that we were there. We had 14 people being elected on the PDP banner. and somewhere along the line there was a fallout, and there was an allegiance switch, so to speak, and the formation of a new party and so on. How has that, you think, affected just even the loyalty of the people of Tobago, or even the confidence of Tobagonians in the administration being able to lead?
I think we have always been traumatized by the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. The people of Trinidad and Tobago have been traumatized. Some people reacted differently. Some people just nonchalant about the whole political system. Some people give up. I mean, you far and wide, people just, whatever happens, whatever is, whatever. I think any true political leadership, any true political party have to first give the people the assurance that, you are important, and encourage people to become part of the political process. Ergo my political philosophy, that you have to be part of the political process. This is not a stand-by scenario. You stand by and you're an observer and then you complain. That's the culture that I will encourage you to hold me accountable, and I want to create a system that you can hold me accountable. I want to encourage you that I cannot do this without you, that you're part and parcel. The party politics, the petty party politics have added to the trauma and all the dynamics of power, struggle and all sort of add to the trauma. Excuse me, sorry. Add to the trauma of the politics of Trinidad and Tobago in this particular case. And so if we see more of parties and politicians transcending that, then I think you bring the people on board. Listen, this is for us, all of us in this together. Not about me standing on the sideline and looking at you, and I hope you fail, or I don't care about how you do it, or it doesn't matter to me.
Do you see any change happening between the relationship of the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister? We saw quite an adversarial sort of thing over the past year. It actually quite escalated quite a bit between them, and there's been a lot of criticism from the people of Tobago in regards to how that relationship has played out, whether or not that's beneficial for Tobago and the development and everything that we need, seeing as how the Tobago House of Assembly is quite dependent on that relationship with the central government.
Kandace, the truth about the matter is that there is a posturing of autonomy in the Tobago administration that is frightening. It's delusional for me when you look at it. Because I think what we have not done in the past is that we have not explored the potential of this unitary arrangement, which none of us, Trinidad nor Tobago, is responsible for. Because this Trinidad and Tobago twin island thing has nothing to do with the people of Trinidad and people of Tobago. This is not something of our own doing. This is a colonial arrangement. And therefore, it's like an arranged marriage. We enter the arranged marriage. Now we bought children, we have grandchildren, great-grandchildren. We have all kind of stuff that invested in this already. And here we are now fighting on something that none of us are responsible for. And so I think the Farley administration need to understand that, listen, what we need to do is to explore the true potential of the Trinidad and Tobago unitary arrangement. Let's explore that. There are people who are promoting the philosophy that Tobago is some kind of government, Tobago has some kind of independence, Tobago have plenipotentiary powers, and it does not exist. Because there's a constitution that ties us together. We have gone through independence together, we have gone through a republic together, we have gone through so many things. Cool, all that stuff, we have gone through those things together. Does that all those sacrifices that we have made as a people, it means nothing? Quarter of the population in Trinidad is people of Tobago heritage. I mean, where are we going with this? Really and truly, where are we going with this? No, I am not going to despise those who want to argue against that, but I'm saying I do not support that kind of thinking, because we have not fully explored the potential, because there's nobody in Trinidad who's dead or alive, and there's nobody in Tobago who dead or alive, who are part and parcel of that Trinidad coming together, and Tobago will be joining Tobago with Trinidad, or joining Trinidad with Tobago. None of us are responsible for that. We came up, we met that. What do we do with that arrangement now is important.
Now, and in the minute that we have left, I just want to end with, do you have anything to say about anything positive about the past 2 years?
Well, I mean, as I said, the maintenance of the status quo is important, yes, because people are getting paid, and a lot of things happening. But I think we're in a dispensation now where we transcend that. Those are things that not necessarily take for granted, but those are some of the standard issues of politics when you talk about administration. Unless there's some major issues, and we understand the challenges that you have. Like when we were during COVID, I think the PLM handled that arrangement very well, maintaining the stability and so on. You give government the credit where it's due, and you also must be able to criticize them when it's necessary. I think that is something that we can say that the administration was not reckless to challenge or interfere with those systems that was already in place. But in terms of development and growth and so on, you got to have a different mindset, a different thinking that allows you to grow, that allows you to move from this place and go into a place where you transcend all the petty politics and you transcend political party and political differences. Yes, people are going to have that, but then we start seeing people now looking forward to a better Tobago.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Ricardo Phillip, the political leader of the Class Action Reform Movement, for being on with us and giving your perspective over the past 2 years of the T.H.A. administration.
Thank you so much for having me again.
All right, great. Thank you. And viewers, certainly it was a pleasure being with you this morning. So I hope you have a safe and wonderful day, and we will see you again tomorrow.